Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Taiwo Lawal and you're welcome. So today we'll be talking about a topic that is very, very sensitive. And when people hear that topic from someone who is pro-life, they believe that the person wants to come and tell them that they're going straight to hell and their road to hell is already laced with gold. But really, our talk show today is more educational and to just give information and to attack that psyche of abortion in our society today instead of condemning anyone, to be very honest. So, against that background, I hope that people will relax and learn one or two things from what I'm about to say. So it may interest you to know that the World Health Organization, they recorded that about 40 million to 50 million children are aborted per year. It just means that about 125,000 children are aborted per day. What this really means is that there is a mass genocide, mass murder of children happening all over the world. And to be honest, it's no different from what is happening in Southern Kaduna. It's no different from wherever genocide is happening. Human beings are being killed. So I feel that it is very important that we touch on this topic of abortion. And we already know the meaning of abortion. I'm not here to come and tell you abortion is the expulsion of children from the womb of a woman and all of that. Almost everybody knows what an abortion is. And sometimes an abortion can be planned, it can be deliberate. It could also be a miscarriage. So today I will be talking about the deliberate expulsion of children from the womb of a woman. I'll touch on the reasons why people abort, I'll touch on the spiritual angle, God helping us. I'll touch on what the society can do and how it rubs off on different areas of a woman's life, a baby's life, and all of that. I would also try to prefer solutions and link us to organizations, pregnancy resource centers that can help women that are pregnant and want to be able to help their children. Okay, so starting from the very beginning, what are the major reasons why people abort children? Why do people wake up and decide? Okay, I wouldn't say wake up because people cannot just really up and say I'm gonna abort, except people do. But what are the reasons why people abort children? Although some people don't regard a child in the womb as a child, they don't believe it's a baby, it's a he or a she. They don't believe that thing in the womb that was made, they feel it's just a mass of tissue, something that was just merged up. So it's just a tissue in the womb. But we'll quickly touch on the reasons. One major reason of why people abort is to save face. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, it's a very major cause. Because we live in a society, especially if you're in Africa, where if you have premarital sex is supposed to be seen as something that is wrong. No, Africa still has that tradition, and we've not totally moved away from the fact that you have premarital sex. It's the way the society look at you, like, oh, what's doing this one, right? That it is wrong. It's still morally wrong in our society, although it's not legally wrong, so to speak, but it is morally wrong to have premarital sex. So now when people have premarital sex and they are able to escape from any consequences, because one of the many consequences of premarital sex generally is to what? Have a child. Is one of it. When they're able to escape from it, fine. They go on with their lives. But when people get pregnant and either of the two parties does not want the child, then the lady or the man can start to think about, what can I do about this? How do I save face? How do I preserve myself from this shame? I don't want a fatherless child. I don't know what is happening. What will my mother say to me? Especially if you come from an authoritarian, family where your parents are very authoritarian. They just want you to do what they tell you, right? then you start to think of ways, God, what's going to happen? Are my parents going to listen to me? Nobody to listen to me, and all of that. So one of the options that can come to the mind of the woman is to abort the child. Now, I would like to attack this thing from many angles. Yes, I use the word attack. First off, families, it is important that parents teach their children sex education. Now, schools do this. I don't know how well they do it in Africa, but the best place really is to start from the family. What is the family teaching the child? No, it's not just about using fancy words to cover up anything, but it's what's the consequences of having sex really? We're going to talk about, because although sex is enjoyable, there are some very serious consequences. Babies are cute, but they're a huge responsibility. And if you have sex, you can potentially carry a baby and birth a baby. So sex education is very important. Now, if you find out that you are pregnant, the next step, my sister, my brother, is not to abort that child. Aside from the fact that God created everybody for a reason, God has a purpose for every single person. Aside from religion, because God, before He even created us, God knew us. He called us by name. He knew what we're going to be in the future. Aside from that fact, abortion is not the next step. If we are going to put religion aside, and in fact, there's no reason for us to put God's word aside, because anytime we remove God's word from something, there's really no argument. There's nothing to talk about as regards that topic, to be very honest, because God created this whole earth, and there's no reason why we should remove it from any conversation. Abortion is not the next step. Looking at it, we can say that mentality right there is very selfish. Aside from the fact that not everything is about us, me all the time. A child, the fact that a child was conceived in an unacceptable, I'll just, in quote, in an unacceptable way, does not mean that the child has to be punished so that you will not feel shame, that a woman will not feel shame. One of the best things you can do if you conceive a child out of wedlock is to perhaps give up the child for adoption. You can take the child for adoption. It's just one of the best ways. If you feel like you can't take care of this child, you can give up the child for adoption. So that mentality right there, I believe, is very wicked. Not to say that anybody has to go to hell, because God decides all of that. But it's a very wicked mentality, and it's just all about self-preservation. How will people view me? If you are really thinking of how will people view me, then the first thing is to say, fine, I can potentially have a child. If I have sex, let me practice abstinence. There's time for everything when we get into marriage. God created it. He knows how powerful it is. So He has created a particular space in which it can be enjoyed, right? And people can have responsibility for whatever occurs. So now that's talking about one of the major reasons for abortion, to save face. So another major reason for abortion is rape. A lot of people say rape. When rape occurs, what happens? If you realize that you have conceived a child from violent sexual intercourse, non-consensual sexual intercourse that's not violent, usually, then, a child is different from the means of having that child. It's different from the father, and it's also different from the mother. This is a new gift, a different person entirely, that may not even know that the child was conceived from any means. This child is a gift that just came on its own. Right? I do not believe that violently torturing and killing a child is the best way to solve a problem. Now, the child was already conceived in violence, but the best way for us to attack issues should not be based on retaliation, anger, or whatever, but really, it's about our personal principles. Now, unfortunately, things happen. It's really wrong for anybody to be raped. Nobody wants to be raped, but truth is, life happens. And when stuff like this happens, this may be a hard one, it may be a hard take, but when a child is conceived in rape, the child is not the father. The child is just a vulnerable creature that was created out of an act of perhaps violence, but usually non-consensual or sexual intercourse between two people. Another reason why people abort their children is maybe they've become aware of the fact that the child may be disabled when they give birth to the child, or the child is already disabled right from the womb. So they may try to expel that child from the womb already. Now, speaking to this issue of disability, I was listening to three wonderful women, Ruth Rollins, Wano Adefala, and the Delphinator. They were talking about this issue, and they made a very important point. I'm going to pass across, just tell everybody out here, and let's just think about it together. They said if a woman or a man should give birth to a child, and unfortunately the child becomes disabled along the line, are you going to toss the child in the trash because that child has become disabled after birth? Now, what's the difference between a child that's been born and a child that's still in the womb, regardless of the fact that they're disabled? Now, they're both children. A lot of people say that when a child is in the womb, the child is just a fetus. When a child is outside, that's when the child is a baby. Or when a child is wanted, it's like, we're having a baby. But when a child is not wanted, it's a fetus, a mass of tissue. But if we're being frank with ourselves, we see that these are children that were created by God, and no matter the medium in which they're using to come to this earth, they're actually children. Another reason why people commit abortion is for women's right. A lot of people say it's a woman's right to, expel whatever tissue is in her womb at any point in time. They can expel a baby. She has a right to her body. While this may seem politically correct, it may seem objective, if we're really going to look at it, feminists are saying that we should have equal rights for women and men, politically, economically, in any angle, in any stage of life. Both men and women should have rights. Beautiful, beautiful way to look at life. It's a new dawn to our lives. Do you understand? So if feminists are coming to say let's have equality, there should be equality for a child that's also in the womb, regardless of the fact that a child is in the womb or is outside the womb. A girl is in the womb or is outside the womb. The baby, the girl in the womb should also have equal rights as those that are outside. Now, some people might say we just want to make sure that children we want to control the lives of women. We want to control the lives of people, and we don't even take care of the children that are outside, but we are clamoring for the children that are inside. It's just really because pro-lifers or people that are against abortion want to control the lives of women. If we really look at it, what do we gain from controlling the lives of anybody? Nobody can really control anybody. We can, even after this show, a lot of people may still decide that they want to keep their babies or otherwise. It's not to force anybody. You cannot drum any law down anybody's throat. Even when laws are written in black and white, people still do what they want to do. But really, this show is to make us, attack the psyche. Let's think about this thing very well from all angles. Think about the baby. How is the baby going to feel? How is the mother going to feel? Emotionally, spiritually, psychologically? How is the woman really faring? I believe that it's even against feminism for us to say let's abort children. It is against feminism because a female child may be in the womb and a male child may also be in the womb, because we want equality for everybody, regardless of whether you are inside the womb or outside the womb. Now let's talk about the issue of contraceptives and how people actually evacuate babies or take out their babies from their womb. And I won't even say people, women, how women take out their babies from their womb. How does it happen? Now, I'll talk about the issue of contraceptives because although people call some things contraceptives, but if you really look at it, most of all this medium of, protecting oneself against, having a baby or something, they are not really contraceptives. Now, what is contraceptive? Contraceptive means contra conception. against conception. How can we prevent conception? Right? Now, when you take the morning after pill, the morning after pill is not contra conception. It is actually killing a baby. Let's look at it this way. What does the pill do? When you take the morning after pill, when you take the first one, the baby, conception happens when? Conception happens when the sperm hits the egg. And then what? There's a conception. A baby is formed that moment. Now, when you take the morning after pill, there's already a baby formed. There's a baby formed. And what does that morning after pill do? It goes to kill the baby. Now, looking at that, we'll see that it's just taking the morning after pill is just a fancy way of saying do abortion. Because a baby has been formed at the moment where there is conception. So it's important that we are careful of all these names, especially people who are very, who do not want to commit abortion. The best way for single people, to be honest, is to be abstinent. And when God said you should be abstinent, it's not because He does not know that sex is fun or whatever. It's really because He knows how powerful this thing can be. And He has said, okay, fine, let's have it in marriage. Let's have it in a responsible, acceptable, place. In marriage. God has created it for that for a reason. And the funny thing about God's laws, they are not even for God, because it's not like God is directly doing tampering. They are for us. It's so we will enjoy life. They don't affect Him in any direct way. We really look at it. But God has seen that there may be problems in the future. So how do I attack these problems before they come? Now it's okay, fine, guys. See, don't have sex before marriage. Wait. Choose somebody. Put down your head and choose somebody for your life. So that you will not be thinking of, I don't want this child. I mean, when people are having sex before marriage, what are they thinking? That's my question. What do you expect? Do you expect a vacuum cleaner? No. When you have sex, one of the potential consequences of having sex is actually to have a child. There's a possibility of you having a child. So when you have sex with somebody, it should be somewhere at the back or the front of your mind that you guys can produce a child. So now, talking about another reason why people abort their children is a threat to the life of the mother. Now we'll talk about ectopic pregnancies. A lot of people say, okay, fine, there's the issue of ectopic pregnancies, like what should happen? Now, ordinarily, when there is conception, the egg and the sperm that has been merged together leaves the fallopian, travels up the fallopian tube, and it goes where? To the womb. Then it now attaches itself to the womb, and the baby begins to grow. So in cases where the baby does not implant in the womb, the fertilized egg does not travel up the fallopian tube to implant itself to the womb, and it now unfortunately implants in the fallopian tube. Now there's a problem. Now this is a very, very dicey issue where the baby will continue to grow and the fallopian tube may rupture, and this may potentially kill the child, both the child and the mother. So what do we do in that kind of case? So this is me just calling out to all the doctors, myself, though I'm not in the medical line. We can have technology that actually saves the life of the mother and also saves the life of the baby. Very soon, in Jesus' name, we're going to have that kind of technology that will save people's lives. Now, in that kind of case, when abortion is done, really the motive behind that will be to save the life of the mother. Because at the end of the day, if you leave the baby there, the baby may still die. Right? The baby may still die, but it may still rupture the fallopian tube and die. So in that kind of case, to save the life of the mother, they may evacuate the baby from the womb to protect the life of the mother, because the baby may eventually die. But the beautiful thing about the God said, there's nothing God cannot do. To be honest, it might sound all religious-y and it sounds all distant, but the truth is there's nothing God cannot do. God can ensure that the baby is safe and the woman is safe. Funny enough, in one of the shows I was watching when I was putting everything together to talk about this topic, I heard that there was a miracle baby. The baby was bear an ectopic pregnancy. I mean, the baby was implanted in the fallopian tube, and miraculously, God saved the life of the mother, and God also saved the life of the child. So I'm of the opinion, because I know the God I serve. I mean, I have experienced Him personally. I know that there is nothing God cannot do. I know that God can save the life of the mother, and God can save the life of the child. So that's what I would say about ectopic pregnancies. So now let's look at ways in which babies are, removed, or expelled from the womb. If we really look at the means in which people expel their babies from the womb, I mean, many of these means are very, very, very poor. Being honest with yourself. Now let's look at the one, which is surgery. Some people actually vacuum clean their wombs, like they literally vacuum the baby out of the womb. That's a living human being that's inside someone else's body. There's no reason why we should do vacuum cleaner as if we are cleaning ground or we are cleaning this thing and remove a child out of the womb. It's painful to the child. That's killing another human being. And that hurts if we're really going to look at, how this is done. Some people, when the baby is grown, depending on the time in which this abortion is done, when the baby is grown, what they do is they slice the baby in the woman's womb and they bring out the parts. There was a time I saw it on the internet, Instagram, of a particular woman that she had done this clinical procedure in which the baby was taken out of the womb. But unfortunately, the baby had formed bones. They were tiny bones. And the funny thing, these bones stayed in the womb. The quack doctor did not remove the baby's bones from the womb, and it had formed there and there. Aside from the fact that this is very, very, very dangerous, it's a very dangerous procedure. It will hurt the baby. I mean, it's very, very harmful to the mother, and it can cause so many things. It can cause barrenness to the woman in so many ways, spiritually, physically, and in so many ways generally. The hormonal methods, I would like to say at this point that the hormonal methods, they are very, very, very funny methods, because they call them contraceptives, right? The hormonal contraceptives, they call them contraceptives, but if you really look at it, they actually cause abortion. They induce abortion. One of the ways is also the coil. When they use a coil, when a woman uses a coil, what it does really is not to stop conception. What the coil does is that it prevents a baby from implanting itself in the womb. Now, conception happens once the sperm fertilizes the egg, right? Now, it takes 6 days for that fertilized egg to go up into the womb. So now, before the baby now attaches itself to the womb, at that point is where the coil actually prevents the baby from going, and it just prevents the baby from implanting itself in the womb. That's not contraception. That's not using contraceptives. That is aborting a baby. I mean, the baby has been formed, and if we're being realistic, that baby is 6 days old. Another method that people use is using the morning after pill. What's the morning after pill? The first one that people use, just so you know, it stops the heartbeat of the child. When the morning after pill is used, first of all, they first say, child, you don't have pulse. There's no reason for you to have any heartbeat again. So it stops the heartbeat of the child. So the second day medication causes contractions, and it ensures that a baby is expelled from the womb. So the first day, the heartbeat of the baby stops, and the second day, it ensures that the baby is expelled from the womb. So by causing contractions in the womb. If we're really looking at it, that's not contraceptive. That's not the means. It's supposed to be against conception. But no, this is causing abortion. It stops the heartbeat of the baby, and then it expels the baby from the womb. This means, if we're being frank with ourselves, are very, very wicked. Let's just put it that way. They're very wicked and mean ways of, treating another human being. God said we should love other people as much as we love ourselves. That's another human being right there. It's not just a mass of tissue. It's someone that God created, that God knew. I mean, it's very important that we also love other people just the way we love ourselves. So, like I said, this show is not to call on anybody and say you're going to hell. I mean, if you're dealing with the guilt of abortion, you can go on my website, tyrolawal.com. I've written something on dealing with guilt. How can you unpack your guilt? Deal with it. Because it's just a weight that's going to push you down. It's not for you to have any guilty feeling, to go back and saying, I'm not feeling. Really, it's for you to attack it, because a lot of people don't face their guilt, and they don't know they're carrying guilt all around. What people do, sometimes people deny that feeling. They don't want to. They die down. They bury it. They make it seem like it's one of those things. They bury that feeling, but it's right there. So if you go on my website, tyrolawal.com, and you check on dealing with guilt, you see ways in which, if you're dealing with guilt from abortion, you can move on from that guilt, heal, and also move on. But this is not to say that abortion is right, everyone. Although I am taking this, casual way of talking about it, the truth is, abortion is clean and healthy human being that God has created. God has a purpose for that child. I mean, there's a mentality of abortion. It's a mentality of murder. A lot of children are being killed the world over. It's a genocide. It's as serious as the people that they're killing in South Sudan, they're killing in southern Kaduna, or in any part of the world. It's a grievous thing. It hardens your heart. It makes you lose empathy for vulnerable people. These children are vulnerable people that God has kept, under our control. Because God knows that this child is vulnerable. He needs someone strong as you and myself to actually take care of the child. Now, some people may say that in society we're just always shouting, let's not have abortion, but we don't want to take care of these children. It will shock you that if you go on the internet, there are pregnancy resource centers. People who are willing to help you through your pregnancy. Yes, the world is harsh, but we don't have to be harsher. Right? There are pregnancy resource centers. If you need anyone, you can just contact me. You can call my number 08143817162. I would like to help you through your journey in the little way that I can. You can reach out to me. I can connect you to pregnancy resource centers where they can help you through it. And if you've committed an abortion and you feel so much weight on you, I want to tell you that there is hope. There's really hope for everybody, and no matter how grievous our sin is, God is not really out to condemn. There are consequences for our actions, right? But at the same time, God is a loving Father. God wants to welcome you home. He's been waiting for you. He really wants you to come. He wants you to unpack all that feeling of guilt, or whatever it is that you're going through. He wants you to come to Him. He wants to help you. He wants to renew you, give you a new mindset, give you a new spirit. So if you call me, I can link you up with organizations that can help you through your pregnancy, and if you need counseling, perhaps you're going through, you don't know what to do, you're pregnant, you're about to have a baby, and you feel ashamed. All these things happen. I would like you to, reach out to me via 08143817162, and I will hook you up with some organizations and people who can, talk you through this process, help be a shoulder to you, like what we all need.